Let's be honest, my life was a complete mess, like a tornado hit and then decided to hang out for a while. But guess what? I discovered a simple trick that didn't just clean things up. It actually made me feel like I've got my life together. Well, almost. No, it's not magic. It's just a clever way to organize without losing your sanity. Ready to declutter without the drama? Let's get into it. Okay, let's be real. Decluttering is like starting a fight you didn't even sign up for. You open one drawer, and suddenly you're face to face with your emotional baggage and a bunch of random stuff you forgot you owned. Seriously, why do we have so many charger cables for phones we don't even use anymore? It's like they're breeding in there. The real chaos starts when you look around and realize just how much junk has piled up. It's not just a let me tidy up real quick situation. Nope. It's more like, where did all this come from and how did I live like this? Before you know it, you're knee-deep in a pile of old birthday cards, tangled necklaces, and that one sock that never found its mate. And let's talk about those weird emotional attachments. You know, the ones that make you keep a faded concert ticket from 2010, because what if I want to remember that night? Spoiler, you won't. But here's the thing. Decluttering isn't just about tossing things. It's about facing memories, good and bad, and maybe finally letting go of that sweater you swore you'd wear again. Spoiler, you won't wear it again. But hey, don't stress. Feeling overwhelmed is totally normal. In fact, it's practically step one. But we're just getting started. Let's dig a little deeper and figure out why decluttering feels like such a big deal. Spoiler alert, it's not all about the stuff. Ready to peel back the layers? Let's keep this party going. Decluttering isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. It's more like peeling back layers of a really stubborn onion. And yes, sometimes you're gonna hit a layer that makes you tear up a bit, but hey, that's part of the fun, right? Well, fun might be a stretch, but we're here for the adventure. First up, you've got the easy stuff. You know, the things you look at and think, why do I even own this? Like, do you really need that collection of fast food napkins or the 57 pens that don't work? This layer is a breeze. Just toss the junk and pat yourself on the back. You're practically a decluttering superhero at this point. Then we get to the maybe layer. This is where things start to get a little tricky. You hold up something and think, I might need this someday. Maybe it's that waffle iron you've never used, or the sweater you might fit into again. Spoiler alert, you probably won't, but convincing yourself of that, easier said than done. Finally, we hit the real challenge, the emotional stuff. This is where decluttering gets serious. We're talking about the things tied to memories, like that dress you wore on your first date, or that stuffed animal you've had since childhood. It's not just stuff anymore, it's a part of your history. But hey, we'll work through it together. Up next, the first stage of decluttering, the out of sight, out of mind stuff. The out of sight, out of mind stuff, also known as the things you've shoved in a drawer, closet, or random box hoping they just disappear. Spoiler, they didn't. This is the junk that doesn't hold any emotional value, but somehow it's still hanging around like that one guest at the party who never gets the hint to leave. Think old receipts, takeout menus, or the instruction manual to something you don't even own anymore. Time to say goodbye. The beauty of this stage? It's a no-brainer. You don't have to think too hard about whether or not you need to keep these things. They're not Marie Kondoing any joy into your life, and they're certainly not making your space look any better. Tossing them feels like an instant win, kind of like finding $5 in an old coat pocket. Except, it's space you're finding instead of cash. And honestly, you're not gonna miss any of this stuff. You won't find yourself waking up in the middle of the night screaming, "Where is that expired coupon from 2016? It's like clearing the cobwebs of your life, super satisfying and no guilt attached. Plus, you can now open that drawer without fearing an avalanche. Ready for more? Buckle up, because next we're diving into the happy memories stuff where things get a little trickier, but still fun. Stay tuned. Now we're stepping into the happy memories zone. This is where decluttering gets a bit trickier because suddenly you're holding up stuff that makes you smile. It's not junk. It's cute birthday cards from friends, your kids' finger paintings, or that random souvenir you bought on vacation. You don't really need it, but it brings back some good vibes. So what do? The thing is, these items aren't critical to your survival, unless you plan on trading old birthday cards for groceries. But they're nice to have. It's like keeping that one sweater you never wear because it's cozy, even though it's been sitting in the back of your closet for 3 years. These happy memory things, they're the clutter version of that cozy sweater. But here's the kicker. Keeping all these sentimental bits and pieces means your space starts looking like a scrapbook exploded. Sure, it's sweet, but after a while, it's just a pile of paper that's taking over your life. So what's the solution? Pick a few faves to keep, snap a picture of the rest for the memory bank, and boom, decluttered without losing the warm fuzzies. Up next, we're taking on the ideal self stuff, where things get a little deeper and a bit harder to let go. You ready for this? Alright, now we're getting into the ideal self stuff. This is the trickiest part, because you're not just decluttering things. You're decluttering dreams. You know the items I'm talking about. The jeans you've been saving for when you finally lose those last 10 pounds, or the yoga mat you bought during your "I'm totally going to become a yogi" phase. Spoiler, you're still not a yogi. This stage is where reality slaps you in the face a little bit. We all have that version of ourselves we wish we were. The marathon runner, the artist, the master chef. But the truth is, sometimes our stuff is just holding us to an old fantasy. So it's time to ask yourself, is this thing part of my real life, or is it just sitting here, making me feel bad about not being someone else? Ouch, I know, but it's necessary. But hey, there's no shame in admitting that those someday items aren't actually helping you. Letting go of the things that belong to your ideal self can actually make space for the real you to shine. Maybe not the marathon running, kale eating version, but definitely the version that isn't buried under a pile of gym clothes you never wore. Next up, the toughest layer, the stuff you really don't want to say goodbye to. Grab some tissues, just in case, and let's get through this together. Now we've reached the final boss of decluttering, the deeply emotional stuff. This is where things get real. We're talking about items that are tied to serious memories, like the mementos from loved ones, the photos from the good old days, or that handwritten letter you'll never throw away. These aren't just things, they're pieces of your heart. Cue the dramatic music. Letting go of this stuff feels impossible, right? It's not like you're going to toss out your grandma's old scarf because it doesn't match your wardrobe. These items hold serious sentimental value, and parting with them feels like you're erasing a bit of your history. But here's the truth. It's not about erasing. It's about keeping what truly matters and making space for new memories. One trick is to keep only the most meaningful things. You don't need every single keepsake to remember someone or something special. Hold on to what makes your heart light up and find creative ways to cherish the memories. Like, instead of keeping that entire box of letters, maybe frame one and display it so the memory stays close without the clutter. Now, decluttering this stuff can take time, and that's okay. This isn't a race. We'll get through it at your pace. But here's a thought. How about we lighten the load with a little mental checklist to help you decide what stays and what goes? Stay tuned for that. Time for the mental checklist. Think of it as your decluttering sidekick, helping you decide what stays and what hits the road. And trust me, this part can actually be fun. Well, decluttering fun. It's like playing a game of, do I really need this, or am I just hanging on because it's been here forever? Spoiler, that random candle you've never lit? Yeah, it's time. First question, why do you want to keep this? Be honest. If the answer is because it was expensive, ask yourself if it's earning its keep. If it's just sitting there collecting dust, let's be real. It's not paying rent, so it's gotta go. If it's something that makes you happy or serves a purpose, congrats, it can stay. Next up, does this still reflect who you are right now? Or is it something from a past life you're not living anymore? You know, like that guitar you bought during your "I'm totally gonna be a rock star" phase. Unless you're shredding solos in your living room, it might be time to say goodbye. Your current self deserves more space to breathe. Last one. Would you buy this again today? If the answer is a hard nope, then why are you keeping it? Decluttering is about making space for the things that actually fit your life now, not hanging on to stuff that you're over. Keep it light, Keep it simple, and soon enough, you'll feel like a decluttering pro. Ready for the next tip? We're going to talk about how to take your time with this process while still staying committed. Let's keep it rolling. All right, so let's talk about something super important: taking your time. Decluttering doesn't have to be a speed race where you're chucking things out like you're on a reality TV show. Nope. This is more of a slow and steady wins the race situation. You don't have to get rid of everything in one day. Just try not to get too attached to that 2009 flip phone. You know it's still lurking in a drawer somewhere. The key here is to stay committed, even when the going gets tough. Decluttering can bring up some feelings and you might need to take a breather. Totally fine. Just make sure your breather doesn't turn into a 5-hour Netflix binge unless you're watching decluttering shows, in which case, carry on. The goal is progress, not perfection. One trick is to break it down. Instead of saying, I'm going to declutter my entire house today, maybe try, I'm just going to tackle this one closet. It's like eating a giant pizza. You don't scarf it all down at once, unless you're really hungry. You take it slice by slice. Same with decluttering. One drawer, one closet, one box at a time. And hey, don't beat yourself up if you need to take it slow. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is your decluttered life. Just remember, keep going, stay committed, and soon enough, you'll be living in a space that feels like you, minus the clutter. Ready for a fun tip? Next, we're talking about how to keep memories without all the mess. Stay tuned. Let's face it, sometimes you've got sentimental stuff that's too bulky to keep, but you can't bear to throw it away. Enter the magic of technology. Instead of holding on to that giant shoebox of old photos and ticket stubs, how about snapping a few pictures? That way, you can keep the memories without your closet looking like a museum of your past life. Plus, your phone is basically a pocket-sized time capsule at this point. Imagine this, instead of holding on to every birthday card you've ever received. And let's be real, some of them are just happy birthday with zero emotion. You take a quick pic, save it to the cloud, and voila, memory preserved, but your drawers are still breathing. It's like having your cake and eating it too, except with less clutter and no frosting. And think about the space you're saving. Those old t-shirts from concerts you barely remember? Snap a pic, toss the shirt, and suddenly your dresser isn't exploding every time you open it. Plus, if you ever feel like reminiscing, all your memories are just a scroll away. So next time you're feeling sentimental but don't want to hold on to everything, go digital. You'll keep the feels but lose the mess. Ready for the final push? Let's wrap this up with one last tip.